Alright everybody, today I'm going to be talking about the harsh truth of the Runewords. Let's hop on into it. Alright, so when it comes to these Runewords, I'm just going to go ahead and give you guys a TLDR. They're really not very interesting at all. I am, realistically, they just created another system that's going to be min-maxed away. There's really not all that much cool stuff to go on with it. They're honestly just pretty boring. They don't really do anything super crazy. So just to kind of show you guys the way these are. So if you don't know how the new runeworks are going to look or work, you put on a rune of ritual and then you attach a rune of invocation. So the rune of ritual is how you generate the offering to activate the rune of invocation. So you can see here this one requires 500 offering, and will give you 50 offering every time you cast a skill with a cooldown. Now, if you really look at these though, and what they do, you have, like reduce your active cooldowns by 0.25 seconds. Okay. Replace your next evade with Sorcerer's Teleport. Okay. Evoke the Barbarian's Enhanced War Cry, increasing your movement speed and damage dealt. Alright. +3 to all skills for 5 seconds. Your next skill cast will greater to crit overpower. You evoke the Druid's Petrify, stunning enemies, increasing your critical strike damage against them. You get the Spiritborn's Vortex. You get Barbarian's Challenging Shout. You gain the Rogue's Dark Shroud, reducing damage taken per shadow. You have Evoke the Rogue's Counter Concealment. And the reason, in theory, you would think, oh, wait, well, you can use the Spiritborn's Vortex? Cool. So maybe for more casual players, this is cool. But for people that actually play to the end game, realistically, all of these don't really matter. The only one that matters is Warcry and Petrify. You're pretty much just going to decide if these work in your build, and you're going to try to do it. And most people are probably just going to throw Warcry on and then maybe one of these utility ones and call it good. The reason why I don't like these rune words is they should have never put Warcry as an option. Like, oh, it's cool, you get the Barbarian's Warcry, but it's a multiplicative damage increase, so now everybody's going to take it. Like, replace your next evade with Sorcerer's Teleport, so it gives people a way to blink and become unstoppable. Hey, that's actually pretty cool. And some classes have access to unstoppable, so it's not like every class is going to need this. But you look at like a druid or something that has a little bit sketchier access to unstoppable right now. It's like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool, right? That could be cool. And even like evoking the druid's Petrify isn't that bad. That's cool. You get to evoke a druid ultimate as like a necromancer or something. Okay, that's cool, and you get a nice massive critical strike damage buff. Bone Spear is going to love that, right? But it's not something every build's going to want to take, because not every build is a critical strike damage build, right? But this right here, everybody's going to want this. Like this is like, they need to, honestly, they should probably just throw this one out. There's no reason to keep this in. It's just a multiplicative damage increase that everybody's going to take, right? And then when you look at this stuff, it's like, what does this really do that's helpful? And look at like the offering costs on all of this, right? 500 offering to do this. 800 offering to do this. 150 off. Like, dude, these offering costs are insane. Look at this one down here. It says, so invoke the Druid's Earthen Bulwark. 800 offering just to give yourself a barrier. It doesn't even give you the unstoppable from the Earthen Bulwark. It just gives you the barrier. Like, what? Like, the offering costs on all this should be way lowered. Like, it would be more interesting, and people might actually use this other stuff if they just lowered the offering costs across the board. Look at this. 100 offering, and you don't even get me started on these magic ones. Like, I get that they're supposed to be weaker, whatever. But it's like, what's the point? Like, if you're going to make them this weak, like, look at how many of them there are. It's like this one actually is pretty decent. This is actually pretty decent for the Barb, just because the Barb can actually proc this a lot. But, like, look at this. Evoke the Sorcerer's Meteorites, dealing damage to enemies. These are situationally good. Like, I guess it says evoke the Sorcerer's Meteorites, not Meteor. So I'm kind of curious, like, if a sorcerer plays this, can they buff the damage of the meteorites? Otherwise, it's like, what's the point of this? All that's really going to end up happening with these ones is people are going to take... Now, this one is actually bugged on the PTR, so it's not actually working right now, but they're going to take Zol, evoke a power from another class. It's going to give them 150 offering. they're going to attach that to Warcry, and then they're going to go and they're going to take like cast a non-channeled core skill or something like that, and then they're going to attach that to the sorcerer's meteorites, where it's going to give them 25 offering, and then guess what? That's going to evoke a sorcerer's power. So then that's going to generate their Warcry offering, and that's virtually going to be like every build, because none of this other stuff is really worth taking because the cost is so high. Like, the cost is so freaking high, and I don't understand why. I mean, granted, they could also buff, these to do more. Like, cast a non-channel core skill gives 25. So this is something you can spam and it gives 25, but then, when you cast something with a cooldown, it only gives 50. Now, for reset builds, obviously this is much better. For builds that can't cast reset, this is pretty much useless, right? And it says lucky hit, up to 100% chance against injured enemies. Like, what? So as you kill things, you could get it? All right. Then you have travel 5 meters, gain 50 offering. So I guess that one could be good if you're moving around, like a ton. But I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of all this. I really don't think any of these other ones are going to be used a whole lot. I think like this one's probably like if they reduced the offering cost and then also made it to where this gives you unstoppable, that could be pretty good. I mean, evoke the sorcerer's mystical frost nova, inflicting freeze and vulnerable onto enemies. Like, why do people even need that? Like, every class pretty much has a way to do vulnerability now. So I don't know. I just don't even understand why that would be used. Evoke the Spiritborn's concussive stomp, dealing damage and knocking down enemies. I mean, a lot of this stuff is cool thematically. I'll give them that, but that's really all it is it's cool thematically. When it really comes down to like the end game and how people are going to treat the end game, it's really not all that great. This one right here, I actually do like this one. Reduce the active ultimate cooldown by 4 seconds just because I'm doing a Mjolnickering thing. But you don't even necessarily need that. But I do like that one actually too. But yeah, so that's pretty much where it's at. Like right now, I'm using the Druid's Petrify and I'm also using the Warcry. I literally just have both of those on this build, and that's all I do. I just wait for them to go off. I do a bunch of damage. All is good. All is cool. And honestly, once the we go live and they actually get that one working, this Yule working, I'll probably just switch over to Warcry just so I can get that movement speed boost and I can keep this up. I can just keep this up longer. I don't even know if I'll do the Petrify, or I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I'll just do the Petrify instead of the Warcry. But they definitely need to do something to this because honestly, it feels like it just takes forever to generate like any offering at all for these. Like, look at this, 400 offering. There is no build, and it says the overflow is increased duration. I don't even think anybody's gonna be overflowing with this, to be honest with you. Like, it's probably gonna take them at least 5 seconds to get this back up. So like, you're really not gonna see the overflow too much. One thing they could do if they really wanted to break Companion Druid is they could make those Spirit Wolves that spawn. It's like they can make those count as companions, which I don't believe they do. This one could be good early on when you have low stats and you don't have a lot of crit. I think Gar could be pretty good stat wise, but yeah, after that, I don't know. I'm really just not the biggest fan of these. I really just don't see like where the fun is. I think they should really remove anything that gives a multiplicative damage buff, I feel, and because everybody's just going to take that, and they should just make a bunch of situational things that could be good, like depending on your build, and I think that would make these a lot better. But anyways, guys, yeah, that's my thoughts on the Runewords right now. We'll see how they change after Vessel, or after the PTR is over. But thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.